everyone, Lady Sapphire here, and today we're going to have some fun with the what's the best and good part about sexuality. But first, hello, welcome to my channel, and I am on every Tuesday and Thursday between 8 and 10 I usually try to aim for. So, thank you for any subscriptions and likes, and let's get to this. So, in case my little picture didn't give you a clue, we're going to be talking about the orgasm today. I know, it's a big, scary word to a lot of people, but it's the funnest, best part of all sex. And it doesn't even have to be about the sex, just the orgasm, which is where the masturbation and other things become so important. But before we get into all that, we're going to get into the science of it a little bit. So there actually are a lot of health benefits to the orgasm. Most people don't realize that. Most people think, oh, it's just a good time and it's fun, and some people get addicted to it, and this is where nymphomania comes into play. But it's actually very good for you. It releases all of these wonderful hormones that keep us young, that keep us healthy, that help our skin stay tight. What is better than that? Secondly, it keeps us mentally stable. Now, this sounds kind of crazy. I know. It's like, well, you don't need to depend on this. But you kind of do. That's why the urge to do it is there. So, the entire brain gets fired up when you have an orgasm. So, all of the hormones get rushed at once, and this is what gets addictive. But all of those beautiful, good hormones keep regenerating our brains, keep our brains going, keep us moving healthily. So, it's actually a good thing for women to orgasm once a day. And this is actually where hysteria came from. The disease hysteria and why women can go hysteric from old ideologies. New ideologies are a little bit different, but the old ideologies were mostly just about they weren't getting off enough. Poor girls. They were getting a little cranky, getting a little bit weird, getting a little bit unpredictable and irrational because their brains weren't resetting, which is what the orgasm is. It's the time for the brain to literally reset, which is why we should actually do it every day. Men, on the other hand, if you know how to orgasm without ejaculating, you should do it every day. And yes, it is possible to orgasm without ejaculating. We will talk about that at a different time, but it is possible. But if you know how to do it, then orgasm every day. That's fine. No risk factor. But if you are looking to have children, then you should only actually orgasm once a week because you need time for your semen to develop and to produce and to get strong and smart and do what they gotta do while they're in there, whatever they're doing. There is a whole process, I know, but we don't need to get into all of that. But that is actually very important for you men. So you should only get off roughly once a week. But us women still need to get off every day. Now, this is where things get tricky, and where the whole, let's masturbate, and let's encourage toy use, other things to encourage fun for all, because you don't have to even have sex to reach orgasm. And this isn't, it's not even something that has to take all day, if you can learn how to do it. And there are lots of seminars, lots of places that do. I don't know so much of, you have to look into your areas. I don't know so much about my area, but I do know that they do exist. There are places you can go to learn about the importance and the how to masturbate and succeed to orgasm comfortably. Now, I know there are lots of people out there who have never experienced orgasms, or on the other side are asexual and don't enjoy sex at all, and that's fine. There are ways to actually reach orgasm through thinking, so there's no physical touch required. And I am going to cite in the description below, there is going to be a link to a site that actually is talking about, there's an article that talks about it, and talks about the importance of masturbation to reach orgasm if you can't do so with your partner initially. That's okay too. Sometimes we got to learn our own bodies, and this is why it's so important to start the discussions and to start learning about sex, because it's so important for our brains, it's so important for our bodies, and it keeps us young, it keeps us virile and strong, and I don't know what's better than that, to just be able to have a really good time, and it's all beneficial even if it's just with myself, because I do realize there's lots of people who are not in relationships or not comfortable with outside of marriage relationships, and that's fine. If that's not your thing, that's cool. We don't have to have sex. That's not necessary to just go right to the sex. You can just enjoy an orgasm to enjoy an orgasm. So please don't think that I'm just saying the only way to get there is through sex. That's not necessary. And nor am I only sitting here promoting sex. I think we should be intelligent. I think we should all be educated. I think that we should make educated decisions. But let's do so while having a good time. Because I like having a good time, and I think everybody does. And if we can do it to ourselves, then why not? Another really cool fact in the picture over here, possibly, will show that the brain itself, what was showing in that image, was that it actually helps with pain relief. So to have an orgasm will actually react in the brain much like a painkiller. So if you're in a state of intense pain, I know this sounds weird, but I mean, like, if you're having a hard time getting to sleep, or if you're having a hard time just you're home alone and you just can't deal, go masturbate for a few minutes and you'll actually find the pain diminishes. And there's another really interesting reason why, and it's actually to do with our nervous system, and that pain and pleasure are on the same nervous system. So you can't really feel both at the same time. Now, okay, if you are like stabbed, fresh wound, bleeding everywhere, and someone goes and like tries to touch you sexually, it probably will not do anything pleasure-wise because the pain is so intense you can't feel the pleasure. But if you're in, like, for example, you sprained your ankle and you're stuck with your foot up for the next 6 weeks and you can't really go anywhere and you can't really do anything and you're in intense pain, where's the harm? Go and have a couple of orgasms. You'll feel much better afterwards, and if you don't, you'll fall asleep anyway, so it's all good. So those are the wonderful science-based factors behind an orgasm. Now, another interesting fact that's actually been coming up more and more through evolutionary studies is that the orgasm, for a woman anyway, I'm going to get into a lot more of woman-based orgasm here, so you men, I'm sorry, but you might still find something interesting to bring to your bedroom later, so you might want to listen anyway. But for women, when we have an orgasm with a man, there might be a correlation to either an ability to love that person through attraction, that because we need those boosts of hormones through attraction to reach orgasm. So until we have that initial attraction, we can't ever reach, we probably won't reach orgasm with a partner that we are not attracted to. It's just unlikely. Unless you're someone like me who can just get off anytime, as long as you got a toy or something, you can kind of make it work for the sake of you need to get off. But typically a woman will not get off with someone she's not attracted to. The other thing that might be true, but I haven't necessarily seen proof of this per se, though if you have comments, please leave them below. I'm all about sociology. I'd love to learn more. But another big thing that people talk about is that there might be a correlation to you can have children with this person, that there is a possibility. Now, I don't want to give the wrong impression that because you can't have kids with that person, you're not meant to be. That's not true. We have fertility clinics for a reason. Some people are sick. Some people have issues. Some men have issues. Some women have issues. I don't want to make it sound like if you can't have kids with your partner, then they're not meant to be, because that's not necessarily the case. It's just a fact that evolutionary believers are getting more into believing that there might be a correlation between the ability to have an orgasm and the ability to conceive with a person. Just leaving it to science up there, I don't know. In that range, I don't know. But I do know that there is a definite correlation between attraction and orgasm. That is for sure within the box of reality. If you're not attracted to someone, you're probably not going to reach orgasm. That doesn't count for guys, mind you. Men are wired a little bit differently than women, which is where my women's warning came into play, because men can kind of, I don't want to sound sexist because it's not like you can get off to anything, but you kind of can with the right motivation. Women, our orgasms are much more in our brains. Men are much more in the body, so it's a little bit different. But it is a great way to maintain and affirm relationships, to learn how to make your woman happy and how to make your man happy in different ways can be great fun. And it's a great way to keep the relationship interesting, is to be always trying different things, always be willing and open to new things. Now, everyone has their consent box. I've mentioned the consent box in other videos, my consent box that we all have. But as long as it's within that box, everyone can differ. But if you learn to play within that box and learn each other out, it's a great way to reaffirm relationships and maintain that relationship, because you're proving to each other that you want to continue to learn and grow and build, and that'll project into the real outside world too. And I only say real world because most people, when they're in their bedrooms alone with their partner, it's like the whole world doesn't exist outside, and you gotta go back into real world when everything's back to normal. And off you go to make dinner or something stupid that isn't as fun as what you were doing 10 minutes ago in the bedroom. But that's okay. Life goes on. We'll wait for the next time and have a good time when it does come. But that's just the way the world is, not just the way the world works. So if you have a wonderful, healthy, fun, explorative sex life, you're going to have a much more healthy, wonderful outside life, because you're more comfortable with your partner. You can talk about anything. You can bring up anything when you open up the door to intimacy. More than just sex, but the sexuality, the whole package of sex and love and intimacy can be a wonderful ride. And it's all about exploration, because we're always changing. We're always going to be different. Like, the person I am today is not the same person that I was 10 years ago. My needs are not at that same level. And they'll go back up again, because I'm nowhere near my peak yet. I'm a little bit up there in age, but I'm not there yet. I have a few more years to hit my peak, so it's going to go back up again, and things are going to change. But that's just what life is. That's what people are. We're changing beings that are constantly on a voyage of life and exploration. So why would you restrict the bedroom to that when you want to keep your life open? You want to keep everything open in your life to greater opportunities, greater expanses. You never want to make sure that every door is sealed, because life changes and life develops and people change and you change. So that shouldn't be a bad thing, and it shouldn't be something that stops a relationship. Just because there's a change doesn't mean it should stop completely. You might have to make adaptations, because people will have their needs, and that's it. Like, if you don't fall into those needs, they're not going to be happy. And it has nothing to do with you as a person, but as their needs or your needs, and if they coincide. And this is why it's so important to explore relationships before we ever put a ring on it and move down that aisle and decide to spend our entire lives with someone. Again, not saying you have to have sex. Exploration does not mean sex. They are not the same thing. There are many ways to explore a human being and understand what they like and what they don't like, even in a sexual way, without having sex with them, or without doing anything that you're not comfortable with. That's a whole different consent box. Everything falls into the consent box. But I do think that exploration is important, especially with ourselves. We need to self-explore, know exactly what we want, what we need, and then bring that forward into our relationships. So there are no areas of the time when you're like, well, I'm not satisfied, and I like what he does, but I'm not satisfied, and I don't know how to bring the two together. Once you take time to self-explore and understand what you want, then you can bring that forward. You can understand what to tell your partner about what to do that you might like, whatever your kink might be, whatever your little thought might be. There's nothing dirty about it. There's nothing wrong about it, and it shouldn't be something you're afraid to talk about. And if you are afraid to talk about it, that might mean there's going to be problems in the future with that person. You're not comfortable with that person. So do you really want to spend the rest of your life with that person when you can't talk and just have a conversation with them? And not to say you're going to be comfortable talking about everything all the time. We all have things that we're like, oh, do we really want to bring it up? Do we really want to go there in our own minds to bring it up in conversation? And I totally understand that. Totally. Don't want to understate that that can be difficult, especially if you're dealing with PTSD from different kinds of trauma, especially where sex is concerned. People can be destroyed by having bad sexual experiences, and it's very sad. And this is where the consent box is so important, because everyone has that right to feel safe in their own homes, in their own relationships, in their own realities. Now, I realize there are some psychos out there, and I don't want anybody spamming me with like, well, people do murder and rape and this and that. Yes, people are crazy. There are some people out there that you do not want to run into. And that, I don't want to say that's fine. I know my kind of line is like, that's fine, but it's not fine. I think that they should be at least hospitalized and get proper help in a proper way and find happiness in their own life, because I know a lot of people that do crazy things are usually just hurt or angry or unaware of the damage that they're really doing until it's too late. And I feel a twinge of sadness, because once you cross the line and do something bad, I don't feel full sadness for you. I feel a twinge of sadness, though, because I know that you must have been through something to think that it was okay to do whatever terrible thing that you do. So I don't want to judge too harshly, because it's not my place to judge anybody, but I do want to say they're out there. But that's not what everybody's about. Not everybody's crazy. Not everybody's creepy. Not everybody's sick. That is a very specific, concentrated situation. So I don't want to, like, make a big stink about that. I did want to mention it because I don't want people coming at me about it. But it's not something that is commonplace. So, on a whole, the orgasm is a wonderful thing, and I really hope that everybody finds a way to enjoy them in a wonderful way, because they are something that should be enjoyed, because they're great for us. Our brains, our bodies, they make us feel good, they make us feel better when we're hurt, and they're just wonderful. So where's the harm in any of it? Let's just enjoy and love life and spread the love to all. As I've said before, let's just be loving to each other. Let's not make shame something that is commonplace, because everyone has needs, everyone has desires, everyone has urges, and let's just embrace them for what they are and move forward as such. Alright guys, have a great night.